This Christian story is based on a powerful song you'll hear at the end of the video. Watch, listen, and be blessed.
The rain had not stopped in 3 days. Gray clouds hung low over Ashton Ridge, wrapping the streets in a silence that felt heavy. This was a town of lowered heads and tired eyes, where isolation and hardship had become the quiet, daily baseline for almost everyone. Inside the old brick church on Willow Street, the silence was even deeper. Years ago, this sanctuary had been the town's engine, overflowing with choir voices and potluck dinners. Now, on a typical evening service, you might find only 6 people in the pews, surrounded by the faint smell of wax and old wood. For a long time, the town waited for a massive shift, a grand top-down revival to fix the economy and the community at once. But waiting for a single lightning-strike moment to change the world keeps people frozen in place, watching the rafters for a sign that never comes. The strategy changed when Elena, a widowed music teacher, stopped waiting for the town to come to the church. She and her pastor decided to bring the church's remaining resources directly into the streets. Late one night, Elena wrote a single question in her notebook: "How do your children live?" They realized that changing the town required moving past grand campaigns. Instead, they started by identifying the micro-level realities of their neighbors: the empty refrigerators, the broken heaters, and the loneliness of the people living just a few blocks away. The effort started in a cold basement with an old table and a tiny budget. There were exactly 5 volunteers: a 73-year-old widow with a pot of soup, a mechanic with a truck, a struggling college student, a man recently sober from addiction, and Elena. Their first stop was a crumbling apartment near the railroad tracks. They didn't have the money to fix the building's heater or pay the tenants' overdue bills, but while the mechanic repaired a leaking sink, Elena simply listened to the woman's stories. The dismal environment didn't change, but for the first time in years, the room felt alive. Over the next months, the small acts multiplied. When Elena began visiting a hungry boy named Noah at a local diner, it wasn't the cost of the meal that mattered. It was the fact that she came back the next week, and the week after that. Consistency built trust. As these visits became regular, the apathy in Ashton Ridge began to crack. A local bakery started donating bread. Teenagers began shoveling driveways for the elderly. Small individual choices to help were connecting, and mercy became contagious. The church gradually became known as the place that helps. They didn't offer grand speeches or claim to have all the answers. They simply became the people who showed up when a neighbor was in need. That network was tested just after midnight when a fire broke out in an old apartment complex. Thick smoke filled the freezing night air, and families were suddenly standing on the sidewalk with nothing, instantly overwhelming the local emergency services. Because they were already used to looking out for one another, the response was immediate. Volunteers arrived before the sirens had even faded. Jacob, the mechanic, ran into the smoke to carry Noah's mother to safety, while others began gathering blankets and water. By dawn, the church sanctuary had been turned into a functioning shelter. Dozens of displaced families were sleeping in the pews, while the volunteers who had spent months delivering single meals were now feeding 50 people at a time beneath the glow of the stained glass. The effort didn't stop at the church doors. Neighboring towns saw the organized response and began sending supplies. Businesses donated building materials, and anonymous donors paid for months of rent to help the families move back into repaired apartments. The fire proved that the town had built a new kind of infrastructure. By the time the crisis hit, the habit of helping was so deeply ingrained that the community mobilized itself. They didn't need a central command because they already knew how to carry each other's burdens. In the following years, Ashton Ridge still faced hardship. Droughts hit the local farms, and economic shifts tightened household budgets. But when Samuel, the volunteer who had struggled with addiction, felt himself nearing a relapse, he didn't disappear. He reached out to the group, knowing that in this town, mercy was a shared responsibility. The ultimate test of this new culture came when Pastor Michael suffered a heart attack. He was ordered to take months of bed rest, leaving the movement without its primary leader and the church without its central organizer. The church no longer revolved around one leader. It had become a living body. Even without the pastor, the people continued serving. Elena coordinated teams, Jacob handled transportation, and the work continued, no longer dependent on a single person's instructions. Decades later, the original volunteers have left a visible legacy. Noah, the boy who was once hungry and forgotten, is now preparing for ministry school. Maria, the student who once struggled with tuition, is now a local teacher. The people who were once the recipients of help have become the ones who sustain the town's future. The town's change is most visible in the quiet daily choices people make. It is seen in the way a stranger is welcomed, or how a neighbor's grief is shared. Ashton Ridge grew brighter because its people simply stopped waiting for a miracle and decided to become the ones who stay.
If every heart could see your light, and every soul could know your name, the darkest night would lose its power, and fear would never rule again. If every tear could find your comfort, if every wound could feel your grace, the world would shine with heaven's mercy, reflected in each loving face. Lord, make this world a little brighter. Teach our hands to heal and give. Where there's sorrow, bring your kindness. Show us how your children live. Let your kingdom come among us. Fill the earth with truth and peace. Jesus, you're our living wonder. In your love, all burdens cease. No child hungry, no one forgotten, no lonely heart left on its own. Let us share the gifts you've given until your compassion is known. Not by riches, not by power, but by mercy freely shown. May we treasure one another as you've claimed us for your own. Lord, make this world a little brighter. Teach our hands to heal and give. Where there's sorrow, bring your kindness. Show us how your children live. Let your kingdom come among us. Fill the earth with truth and peace. Jesus, you're our living wonder. In your love, all burdens cease. I don't need a land of magic. I don't need a fairy tale. For your promises are stronger, and your faithfulness won't fail. When I walk through every season, you're the hope that carries me. And one day in your perfect kingdom, the world will be as you decree. Lord, make this world a little brighter, till the day you make all things new. May our lives become a witness to the endless love in you.